I didn't feel that kind of drama and energy when I was fired in 2017, but it just shows you the comparison. The useful comparison would be just how erratic and inconsistent our president is. There is no long-term relationship. There is no long-term deal. It will always blow up. It's just a matter of time.
Now, extremism and online misinformation are on the rise, and one podcast host in particular is fanning the flames of hate and division. Well, that could easily be the introduction to a news item, but in this case, it is the setup to the new legal thriller FDR Drive, written by none other than the former FBI director James Comey. It's his third book in a New York-based crime series inspired by his career, and I'm delighted to say that James joins us now. Welcome to the show, James. Good afternoon.
Thanks for having me on. It's good to be with you.
James, tell us about the book. It centres on a, well, one might say very timely and relevant issue of disinformation and domestic terrorism.
Yeah, it's unfortunately very topical, especially in the States. It's about my protagonist, Nora Carlton, battling violence that is being spawned from a demagogue who runs a variety of broadcast platforms and podcasts in the States. And the challenge she faces is, can she hold him accountable, given American protections for speech, for the criminal acts of the people that he inspires? It's a very real problem, although it's a book of fiction.
I mean, you say it's a book of fiction, James, but it's so close to the bone. Does it worry you a little bit that sometimes people might be drawing just too many parallels between what you're writing and what's actually happening in the country domestically?
I hope it's not worrying. I hope it makes the work interesting to people. I'm trying to write about problems that investigators and prosecutors in the States really deal with on an everyday basis. My first book was about organized crime and political corruption. We have plenty of that as well. And so I'm trying to write things that are current, that are real, and that take my readers inside the institutions I know so well and shows the reader how it really works.
Are there limits as to the extent that you're able to rely on your personal experience as an FBI director? I mean, do you have to get the FBI's approval for your books?
I have to be careful that I don't give away anything that's classified information or that would reveal a technique or a capability of the FBI, even though that it wouldn't be classified. I don't want to do that to the FBI. So, yeah, I have a variety of obligations and I'm very careful about it, but I can abide the obligations and also show people the way things really work in what I hope is a pretty gripping and cool way.
Do you think that hate crimes are becoming a bigger issue in the US? I mean, just a few days ago, we had that horrific attack carried out in Boulder, Colorado. The suspect is now facing a hate crime and attempted murder charges. Is the FBI still equipped to handle these kinds of threats?
The honest answer is I don't know, for two reasons. First, the threat is metastasizing. There's no doubt that people who believe their white identity in the United States to be threatened are being motivated and moving in ways that are dangerous and disturbing. And as you said, also people who believe that somehow American Jews are responsible for the tragedy in Palestine need to be targeted. There's no doubt the threat is growing. The challenge for the Bureau is it's also being asked to do things like help with immigration enforcement in the United States. I can only hope as an outsider now that they don't take their eye off the top of their stack, which is terrorism and counterintelligence.
What do you make of their capabilities? We know that the federal funding has been cut from many of these agencies. Of course, Elon Musk being in charge of Doge. Do you think the Doge cuts have weakened the government's ability to protect its citizens?
Yes, for a variety of reasons, maybe most obviously, because it has chased a lot of good people out of government. That is, I know probably a dozen people who have taken the buyout that Elon Musk's so-called Doge offered, and that talent has walked out the door, and that makes us weaker. And then we also did idiotic things like firing the new probationary employees, the people who would bring in energy and innovation and knowledge of technology in a way the existing workforce doesn't know, doesn't have the experience. We fired all those people. So we've made ourselves, by being dumb, weaker.
So do you think we're going to see more attacks like what we saw in Boulder, Colorado, if organizations like the FBI have been made weaker by Doge cuts?
I can't from the outside connect cuts to the threat, but I can predict, unfortunately, this is America, that there will be violence There will be violence with weapons, especially handguns, that we're going to face that. Troubled people are going to respond to what they see as some of the issues that they have to act on. And obviously the tragedy in Palestine and the issue we face here with white supremacy are the top of that list.
There's a really interesting question about the right of freedom of speech in your book. As we mentioned, your book is very on the nose with what's going on in the US at the moment. Do you think the US is too permissive when it comes to freedom of speech, hate speech, or do you think it's a model for other countries should follow? Like J.D. Vance, he was very, very strong when he came to the Munich Security Conference. He told European leaders that Europe is too restrictive with its freedom of speech laws. Where do you fall on that side of the argument?
Yeah, there's many reasons why I don't want to be J.D. Vance or echo J.D. Vance. We shouldn't be lecturing other countries about how they ought to organize their constitutional freedoms and their a public square. We have enough challenges in our own. I like the fact that America leans very far forward into permitting free speech. I like the fact that people can petition their government, complain all they want. There's an impulse in the current administration to try to throttle that sort of speech, to intimidate opponents. Thank goodness we have the constitutional protections we do that allow people to speak up.
Online disinformation plays a big role in the book. Now, President Trump recently accused you of calling for his assassination based on a picture you put up on social media. It's a formation of seashells. It had 8647. Now, for many people who might be confused, 86 is usually a term that is associated for discontinuing something, stopping something, removing something. 47, of course, is the number of the president. He was 45 and 47. You took the post down. You explained your reasons for doing so. Were you really that unaware when you put the post up to start with?
Yeah. I mean, I actually still have not seen an example from literature or the arts or theater where someone has used 86 in American English to mean to kill someone. But even though I've never heard of that and have never still not seen it, if people are going to say that, I don't want any part of that on my Instagram feed, for heaven's sakes.
But what were you trying to say, James? And did you come across that formation, or did you create that formation yourself of the seashells?
Oh, no, I just saw it on a walk. Someone had organized those numbers in the sand, and I thought, what a cool way to express political opposition. I love the beach. I love shells. And I thought, well, that's a really creative way to express a political viewpoint. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on Instagram. Last fall, I saw another shell that endorsed Kamala Harris, and I posted that one. So I guess I'm a little bit of a fan of creative shell speech. But when people on the right started saying this means an assassination attempt, I thought, even though that never occurred to me and I still have not seen it, I don't want anything like that to be associated with my Instagram account. So I took it down.
Now, look, in the last couple of days, we've seen an implosion in that relationship between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Now, I was looking through some articles from 2017 because, of course, you were the director of the FBI when Donald Trump had his first term in office. And some people had described that as a bit of a sort of a love-hate relationship, I think was the words described. So you've been on the receiving end of Donald Trump being extremely nice to you and then, well, firing you. What did that feel like? And can you see the comparisons between you and Elon Musk when it comes to the relationship with Donald Trump?
Yeah, I don't see the comparison.
Not you as people.
Yeah. But I mean, just the drama, the level of drama between the two of them now in the breakup between these two lovers has been fascinating, horrifying, and as with so much in American life today, embarrassing. I'm sorry that my friends and colleagues in the UK have to watch this, but this is who we are right now. So I didn't feel that kind of drama and energy when I was fired in 2017, but it just shows you the comparison, the useful comparison would be just how erratic and inconsistent our president is. There is no long-term relationship. There is no long-term deal. It will always blow up. It's just a matter of time.
Does it worry you how thin-skinned Donald Trump sometimes comes across as? Now, he must have quite, I'm going to contradict myself now, he must have some thick skin because he wouldn't have made it this far. But a lot of people make the point that back in 2016, there were people in charge of security services, the military, that could constrain Donald Trump. At the moment, that is not the case. We've seen the new FBI director, Kash Patel, has been installed there by Donald Trump. Previously, a critic of the department said he'd turn the headquarters into a museum. Are you worried about the current state of the US security services because there aren't the people there who could constrain Donald Trump?
Yes. I mean, there's a reason that his former attorney general, his former secretary of defense, his chief of staff, his national security advisor, all told the American people that this guy should never be allowed near the Oval Office again. The American people, for reasons I still don't understand, chose to disregard that advice. But now he's back, and it's sycophants all the way down. There are no serious people trying to distract him with a shiny object or convince him otherwise. And so that's very concerning. When the leader is both incompetent and a narcissist, the absence of guardrails is very concerning.
And can the services like the CIA, the FBI, can they be trusted? And I ask this because we find out from that really quite audacious drone attack that the Ukraine carried out a few days ago. We've been told that the US were not informed about that whole operation at all. And some have pointed out that there might be a level of distrust, that they don't want to share their plans with the US security services. Would you say that the FBI and the CIA are still to be trusted under a Donald Trump administration?
Yeah, not fully, unfortunately. I never thought I would say that. That is, the people doing the work at the FBI and the CIA are the same people they ever were, with the same relationships. They're competent, they're trustworthy. But where an allied service has to be careful is in thinking through, where will the information I share with those I trust at the working level, where will it go? And will it go to the Oval Office where the president can share it with the Russians, as he's done in the past, or show off and brag about surveillance photographs? And so they have to be thoughtful about where it's going to go. And that puts both our allies and the members of our services in a difficult spot. So it seems like it's out of a fiction, out of a novel. But yes, allied service has to be careful about that.
So they can't be trusting the FBI and the CIA 100%?
Well, they can trust the people they're dealing with. They just need to understand, what am I giving you and where will it go inside the U.S. government? And as I said, that's a very difficult thing for the U.S. government, because you may have people in the CIA needing to, maybe not explicitly, but implicitly assure their colleagues in other countries that I'll keep this to myself. And that's a dysfunctional way for us to act.
James, we've used up all our time. Thank you so much for coming to tell us about the fascinating book. It's called FDR Drive. It is out now. James Comey, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thanks for having me.
Lawyer, author, and former FBI director, of course, James Comey, a new legal thriller, which sounds very much on the nose of what's going on in the US today. It's called FDR Drive, and it's out now.